Welcome once again to the Ahern video podcast. Today the title is Don't Forget. I'm constantly amazed when I speak with clients and potential clients that they say, you know, the economy's really robust. I'm going to go out and purchase another 5, 10, or 200 trucks, and I'm going to continue to create a lot of debt because my customers want me to create more debt. Now think about this. What happened to us in the last debacle? We had 10,000 trucking companies go out of business. We had shippers that said, hey, your rates are not competitive, therefore, even though we've done business with you for 20 years, we're getting rid of you. No, there's not enough capacity today because we don't have enough drivers. But instead of going out and buying a lot more equipment, what you should do is focus on getting the highest rate of return with the equipment that you use. If you're strictly a 100% asset-based business and you want to establish a non-asset-based portion, whether it's through brokerage or independent contractors. Is it hard? Yes. But it also creates more value when you decide to exit the business. But if a shipper comes to you and says, I want you to add 30 trucks because I need them, the first question out of your mouth is, 1, are you going to pay me for all miles? 2, if you cancel my contract, will you agree to purchase the equipment or reallocate it to another location? And if the shipper says no and no, then what does that tell you? Don't go out and create debt because you think we're okay. Once in a while when I spout statistics, I'll get a comment, well, you're un-American. I'm Irish. I'm about as American. You know, my family was Irish and French immigrants. I'm about as American as you can get, but I read and I look at the world economy because the world economy does impact our industry. And when you're printing $200 million a day or you've got $20 trillion worth of debt and you see what's happening to our currency overseas, it tells you that the pendulum's going to swing at some point in time. For example, I consistently say that the unemployment rate is not 6.3%. But that's what the newspapers say. That's what the government says. So I found someone that was honest enough to say, but they count it a different way. 37% of the population age 16 and over are not in the workplace. That means they don't have a job. 37%. Well, if 37% of 16 and over are not in the workforce, how are they paying their bills? Think about that. You look at the way we're structured today, and in one of my podcasts recently, I talk about this outlandish advertising by this law firm that I call ambulance chasers. But think about that. If a truck hits you, there's your lottery ticket. Even if you're at fault, there's your lottery ticket. Even if you're 100% at fault, there's your lottery ticket. And oh, by the way, we're not going to charge you anything. We're just going to take a percentage of it. It's for all practical purposes free money. If you notice, they're trying to increase the auto liability rates. Why? So plaintiff attorneys can make more money and plaintiffs can get more money. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. It is true that when a truck is in an accident, it's a bad accident. But look at the statistics of private passenger vehicles. How can a person have 3 DUIs, be put back on the street, and allowed to drive a motor vehicle? Never happened in trucking. And the reality of the situation is because it doesn't get the kind of press that a big rig does, because when a big rig hits somebody, there's some damage. So if you look at the economics, for example, the U.S. currency has always been the denomination if you wanted to purchase oil from Saudi Arabia or any of the other countries. So if you were from Russia or China, you converted it to U.S. dollars and then you bought the fuel. But if you look, there was a record deal between China and Russia. And I think it was $400 billion for fuel. And they used their own exchange rates. Now that tells you something. It's not doom and gloom, but it does tell you something. the new laws that are being effective in July to stop money from going overseas. It tells you something. The fact that we have such a huge deficit, it tells you something. The fact that there's 37% of people age 16 or over, they're not in the job market, it tells you something. So when that shipper comes to you and that shipper says, you need to put 30 or 40 trucks on immediately at $130,000 to $140,000 a piece, and that shipper's not willing to make a commitment to you, don't make a commitment to him. You've got a certain capital expense each 2, 3, 4, 5 years, however you cycle your equipment. That's enough. So focus on running what you have, operating what you have. Focus on treating each truck and each driver as a profit center. Focus on getting the most utilization legally possible, and you'd be surprised what the end results will be. Do not leverage yourself with a lot of debt, because the pendulum is going to swing. I don't have a crystal ball, but history does repeat itself. Until next time, thank you for attending the podcast.